Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Today we'll be talking about President Donald Trump's chip gambit. We'll also be discussing the women missing from India's workforce. But first, the headlines. Maharashtra's Food and Civil Supplies Minister and NCP leader Dhananjay Munde resigns following the arrest of a close aide in the Beed murder case. Relief for ex-SEBI chief Madhavi Puri Buch. Bombay High Court stays order to register FIR against Buch and others in an alleged market fraud case. Case registered against SP-MLA Abu Asim Azmi in Thane over his remarks on Aurangzeb. Maharashtra's Deputy CM Shinde had called for treason charges against Azmi. Karnataka's Business Advisory Committee led by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah approves a proposal for a salary hike for MLAs. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin intensifies attack on centre over language row, asks which North Indian state had taken the initiative to propagate Tamil. India slams UN Rights Chief Volker Turk's baseless remarks on Manipur and Jammu and Kashmir at the UNHRC. Calling someone Pakistani is in poor taste but not a criminal offence, says the Supreme Court as it quashes a criminal case against an 80-year-old man. China announces 15% tariffs on US imports, retaliating to the US announcement of doubling import duty on Chinese goods. China also imposes export and investment restrictions on 25 US firms. US President Donald Trump halts all US military aid to Ukraine. Trump administration is also reported to be considering to lift some sanctions on Russia. President Donald Trump is stocking up on semiconductors, better known as chips. He's just got Taiwanese firm TSMC to invest $100 billion in setting up 4 semiconductor plants in the US. Now, TSMC is the world's largest chip manufacturers. The semiconductors it makes are the backbone of the 21st century economy. Without chips, there is no digital economy. Chips power everything from AI to automobiles to advanced manufacturing. There's a great chip game underway, and joining me to understand the contours of this are Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar, Colonel Anurag Avasthi, and joining us from Taiwan is Sana Hashmi. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Ambassador Sajanhar, President Trump has started a trade war today. The whole world is bracing for the impact of those tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and of course, China. But he's also simultaneously announced this massive investment in chips from a foreign country, from Taiwan. Is the US, in your estimation, preparing for a scenario when China overruns Taiwan and all its semiconductor plants?
Thank you very much, Sandeep. I think this has both geostrategic as well as geo-economic connotations, because basically what he's been saying is, I want more investment in the United States. Their production has, fled from here. It has gone to other geographies, other destinations, and I want to get all of that back here to the United States. So one is in terms of getting the investment not only in commodities like aluminum, steel, etc., but also in high-tech, high-value items like chips. So also wants to be in the forefront of technology. So obviously he wants chip manufacturers to come, he wants more investment to come, he wants more jobs to be created, more employment to be given to people. So that is of course one particular aspect, which has forced him to, which is the motivation for him to impose tariffs on European Union, on China, on Canada, on Mexico, and all the threats that he's been giving around the world. And of course, the other is the geostrategic element, which is that, the way things are going, in my view, meaning this is nothing being stated in those many words. But I think the messages that he seems to be sending out is that any powerful country can go in and occupy any territory, any area that it fancies.
Yes.
And of course, he doesn't want to go to war. He's only busy, interested in striking deals. Maybe China will give him a decent deal as far as trade is concerned, as it had given him a decent deal in January 2020, you might recall.
Yes.
So he is interested in a deal of that nature, and he thinks Taiwan would again be far away, whether it's worth his while
Yes.
to, engage in a conflict with the China.
Yes.
Far away, the results of that might be very, very uncertain. So possibly he's also preparing that all the, the high-end chip industry and technology is able to come back, is able to come to the United States, so that in the eventuality
Yes.
that China is overrun, maybe, initially China might have thought that after 5 years, it would be a good time when it would be strong enough and no opposition
Right.
from Taiwan. Now, with the way things are going with respect to Ukraine and China, it
Yes.
might decide to sort of, advance its plans of taking over Taiwan.
Right, absolutely, and that's a global worry indeed, Ambassador Sajjan. But thanks for setting this up. The fact that there is a geostrategic and a geo-economic great game at play across the world, even as we speak. And Sana, you're in the thick of things. You're in Taiwan right now. We keep seeing how China has stepped up the number of air and sea incursions. They even believe to have cut some undersea cables around Taiwan. Do you believe, as a scholar based in Taiwan, that these tensions are going to be the new normal now when we're looking at Taiwan? The fact that China wants to do this, and then, God forbid, if there is an election, if there is an invasion underway, people kind of think that, it's nothing unusual, that military activity that you see around Taiwan. How worried are the Taiwanese by all these military exercises there?
I think the new norm was already established specifically since the Pelosi's visit in 2022, and we have
Yes.
seen that how China has been trying to normalize the military intimidation, these exercises, and cutting the undersea cable as well. As in, this is not something that's new.
Right.
And I think Taiwanese are quite used to it, the leadership as well as the people. So do not really get alarmed whenever there is military intimidation from the Chinese side. But if there is a cause of worry and unease, I would say that the cause is how to deal with this unpredictability of Trump administration, and
Right.
specifically what happened over the weekend, the spat between Zelensky and JD Vance and Donald Trump.
Yes.
So a lot of actually thinking if Trump is abandoning Ukraine, what
Yes.
is going to happen to Taiwan? And of course, I'm not really saying that Taiwan is Ukraine is going to be the next Ukraine, but definitely the idea that democracies need to save democracies was definitely very important idea concept within the Taiwanese psyche.
Right.
So that played a role, and so I think that is an important, most important, a top priority for a lot of Taiwanese, both politicians as well as people.
Yes, absolutely. Very worrisome for Taiwan indeed. If they saw what happened between Ukraine and United States, you can't blame them for thinking the way they do. But Colonel Avasthi, you've also been looking at this, what's been unfolding in the last couple of days. Break down for us the significance of this 100 billion plus investment that TMC is making in the United States. Do you believe that this is a strategy? Of course, it is a US strategy to de-risk, not put all their chips in one basket, if I could use that analogy, that Taiwan accounts for almost 90% of all chip manufacturing in the world. Is the US trying to move a lot of this manufacturing out of Taiwan, and do you believe that actually endangers Taiwan rather than strengthening its case?
All right. Thank you, firstly, Sandeep, for having me on the show. Now, there are a couple of things. The first option is, will there be a military option on Taiwan? Let me again reiterate to you that it's not that simple. It's not simple because you're not looking at prosecuting operations littorally. It's an island. That is one. Second, while we may say that there is a lot of inter-country trade and various other investments which are cross-country between the Chinese mainland and Taiwan, which cannot be glossed over.
Right.
The third issue is that there are geopolitical underpinnings which cannot be, whisked away. And you say that somebody will go in for an offensive or whatever it is in some manner or the other. it is difficult. B, it doesn't sound logical right now. And C, it may not happen. Now, let me also take you through the paces of what we had argued much earlier when the Chips and Science Act 2022 came in place
Right.
in the Joe Biden administration, which was worth $52.7 billion. Well, if you chronicle that from the Chips and Science Act, which came in 2022,
Right.
you look at Stargate, which was launched in January with OpenAI, SoftBank, and
Yes.
Oracle. Thereafter, last week, Apple has pledged around $500 billion to expand its footprint in the
Right.
United States. If you go back yet again in 2022, when the Chips and Science Act came, TSMC had pledged to make one fab in Arizona, which
Yes.
is up and about. It is already making 4 nanometer chips today as we speak today. And then, of course, now you have the TSMC pledging more than $100 billion in making these state-of-the-art fabrication facilities and packaging facilities all across United States. Now, it's a pattern.
Right.
It's not in oblivion. Now, also, if you look at it in a very, very, quantifiable manner, this basically means 6 fabrication facilities by TSMC and additional facilities which have to be a part of these facilities. Now, what does it mean? It essentially means diversification, it means de-risking, and it means narrowing of global supply chains. That's exactly
Right.
what it means. And also, when you look at it, these fabs, when they come up in play, say by around 2028, they should be producing the cutting edge 2 nanometer chips, which would be the backbone for any high technology, gadget or weapon system or what have you in
Right.
the entire gamut of things. Now, also, you have to understand there are no tariffs.
Right.
So when it's very clear there are no tariffs. So if there are no tariffs, obviously it makes a business case. You
Yes.
have to understand that as well. Now, a lot of people are arguing since morning that I keep seeing the chatter, in the open source that, the colloquial silicon shield of Taiwan will,
Yes.
be denuded and all of that.
Yes.
Well, I really don't think so. I really don't think so. See, it's a larger push by the Trump administration to
Yes.
encourage investments for American manufacturing. Now, he has understood that the Schwerpunkt or the center of gravity lies in the high technology sector. So whether it is AI, whether it is chips, he's exactly doing as the playbook says. So
Yes.
I don't think anything is out of the ordinary in this.
Right, nothing out of the ordinary, Colonel Avasthi, but the fact is that it is a matter of great concern what China is doing with Taiwan, those stepped up exercises to test that silicon shield as we know it. But Ambassador Sarjanhar, we've been talking about this great game. Of course, you talked about the geostrategic and the geo-economic play that's unfolding before our eyes over the last couple of days. This talk about minerals and chips and the race to protect supply chains. We are seeing this on a level that we haven't seen possibly since the oil era of the 1960s and the 70s. The contest for the great game for oil. What are the challenges for Indian diplomacy in the middle of all of this? Earlier we were quite comfortable with oil and expats, if I can put it that way. But now you're looking at a whole new game that's opening up, a very big, enlarged global context where everything seems to be interconnected. As Colonel Avasthi was mentioning, there's a slow, gradual process underway, especially in the United States, to bring manufacturing back, to get minerals and get access to the minerals, what China has been doing in the last couple of years. Give us your thoughts on what is the game that India should be playing in this new great game?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Sandeep, because I think that's a very valid question. That's a very relevant question. And the question is coming from you today, but I think that as far as the Indian government is concerned, that has been focused on this for quite some time,
Yes.
because as you said very rightly, oil and gas, oil 85 to 90% are requirement coming from outside, gas 50% from outside, coal also significant quantities coming from outside, and we were sort of, whether it is in the past West Asia, which was meeting our requirements, more recently it is Russia, and going forward, and Venezuela also has come in, and going forward the United States also. So you know that. The other is in terms of, I think water is also a very important, natural resource, which is, people would say that water is going to be the new oil, and
Yes.
the wars are going to be fought over water. But of course, we know as far as technology is concerned.
Yes.
Now, what the Indian leadership has said, Sandeep, and you would recall, we said we were a colony when the Industrial Revolution came, and we could not
Yes.
really take full advantage. But as far as the technology revolution is concerned, we are going to be in the forefront, and you've seen whether it is AI and or the homegrown, digital payment infrastructure, etc.
Right.
We are up there. Even as
Yes.
far as semiconductor chips are concerned, notwithstanding some voices, some noises domestically that we need not go into all of that, or even as far as AI is concerned, we need to look possibly only at the applications and not go into the hardware,
Yes.
in terms of manufacture, the LLMs, etc. But I think we have, in my view, wisely decided that, we go that way. And also, so, semiconductor chips also coming in here, manufacturing starting here. As far as the minerals and the rare earth materials are concerned, I think we have been, signing contracts. Maybe, they have been under the radar. They have not been sort of, whether it is with Argentina, which has significant supplies of that, or
Yes.
it is, processing of our own rare earth minerals here in India on the eastern coast, eastern shores of Orissa, having foreign companies who have greater technology for processing, because we don't possess that
Yes.
technology. And I know that we are getting it from Kazakhstan, that being the country where I served earlier, that is started happening. So I know that the Indian government is fully aware that we do not have abundant quantities of these rare earth minerals which we require, as we've been talking about,
Yes.
for chips, for all sophisticated high-tech products. So I think India is focused on that. Of course, there is a challenge because 60–70% of rare earth minerals you have in China.
Yes.
And otherwise also, as far as solar energy is concerned, as far as wind energy, because climate is an important element also. So that we have to take cognizance of that, but wherever else it is available, I think India is going around there and doing what it needs to do. Maybe it is not all available in the public domain, as it maybe doesn't need to be all of it. But
Yes.
I know that the Indian leadership, the decision makers, are cognizant of the need and cognizant of the challenges,
Yes.
and they're rising up to it.
Right. I'm going to ask Colonel Avasthi about where we are with our chip ambitions internally, Colonel Avasthi. The fact that we have fabs that have been set up in Assam and Gujarat. When do they start production, and how does this protect us in case of a major disruption in the global supply chain for all the reasons that we just outlined?
Thank you, Sandeep. That's a great question. Firstly, what I would reiterate again is that we need to get out of the nanometer paradigm.
Right.
Everybody seems to be talking about these famous 2 nanometer and 4 nanometer chips and this, that, and the other. But we need to look at this paradigm through our own market. We have to cater to our own market. Our market is what? Our market is automobiles. Our market is wearables. Our market is industrial automation, various other things. So for that, you do not require 2 nanometers and 4 nanometers.
Right.
So that has been understood very clearly by the government, the policymakers, and the industry. Now, having said that, when you have to chronicle this, the fab in Dholera, which was, actually inaugurated last year in March, the work is on in full swing. I
Yes.
have all the reasons to believe by the end of 2026, it should start production. The same timeline would apply to the packaging or the ATMP unit in Jagi Road in Assam.
Right.
So that is how it looks to be. And Assam obviously will be the gateway to the ASEAN, since it is very strategically located
Yes.
in the northeast, and what all can happen there. And a lot of work is going on there. A lot of work is going on there. In fact, You just had Advantage Assam 2.0 just
Yes.
around last week, and a lot of work is going on there in terms of skilling, development, various other issues insofar as this is concerned. When you look at the other two ATMPs of CG Power and Renaissance and Keynes, the work is up and about back in Sanand. And the first unit, which was sanctioned as early as July last year, that is the Micron unit, should be able to package the first chips by around August or September this year. The same has been reiterated by the Honorable Minister also in one of the forums in the recent past.
Yes.
But besides all this, we require a little more impetus in allied or associated technologies like the silicon carbide, the gallium nitride, and
Yes.
more importantly, the display ecosystem. Sandeep, the problem is that India is a large display market,
Yes.
but somewhere down the line, the display ecosystem has not come to the fore as part of the India semiconductor mission. So there needs to be more emphasis, which needs to be put into the display segment of this entire gamut.
Yes.
Now it is, it's very important that while I've made this statement, there's a large need of collaborations with Taiwan. I mean, Sana would bear me out. She's there sitting in Taiwan. A large need of collaborations with Taiwan beyond TSMC. That is the what the collaboration is with the Tatas, and with other countries like Japan, where you have a MOU, Singapore, you have a MOU, Korea, which is a leader in the display segment, Malaysia, and of course the Netherlands. If you have to look a little more towards the west, but the regional focus in this sphere would possibly give more results in the times to come. In addition to whatever is already going, you have a
Right.
great ISET going on with the United States of America. As Ambassador Sajjan has also brought out, the policymakers are sanguine of what is required, and
Yes.
everything is being done to max out what is to be done the best for this country. That's
Right.
all I can tell.
Right, everything's being done. That's room for optimism there. But Sana, tell us about as Colonel Avasthi mentioned, the fact that we have these collaborations with other companies in Taiwan. The Power Chip is one company that's setting up a fab in Gujarat with the Tata Group. How do you see chips bringing Taiwan and India closer together? What's the way ahead in the next couple of years, according to you?
I think that's a very relevant and important question because when we talk about Taiwan, Taiwan is definitely synonymous with chip. And
Yes.
chip diplomacy is something that we have seen over the past years that India is also very interested in uh, fostering chip diplomacy with Taiwan. And of course, we have other countries, as Colonel Avasthi also talked about, Japan, South Korea, and India's own mission and how successful India's mission could be. And in fact, it's on the right trajectory. But of course, among all the countries, Taiwan is definitely one of the most important countries when it comes to acquiring assistance, when it comes to acquiring technology and investment. Power chip company is definitely there. Foxconn, we have seen that how close the Foxconn chairman has been with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But apart from that, of course, India is also eyeing TSMC. And
Yes.
with what TSMC has been doing in the US, there's definitely an example for India to emulate. But then I think India has been doing what it could do. It's doing its best to uh, kind of attract Taiwanese companies. It's talking about Taiwan, and it's actually unprecedented how our Prime Minister, our Foreign Minister has talked about Taiwan as an important economic and technology partner. I think that is so rare that no other foreign leader has done what our leaders have been doing. But I think, of course, there's lack of familiarity. There are stereotypes, outdated narratives. We are working on that. The Indian side is definitely working on addressing those concerns, those outdated narratives. But I do believe that it's Taiwan that has to take two steps towards India now.
Right.
There is this complementarity, and Taiwan's strength lies in semiconductor. So how does it capitalize with respect to its diplomacy with India? I think it's on Taiwan. And of course, what we saw with the US, it cannot really put all its egg in the US basket. It has
Yes.
to strengthen its outreach. And I think trip diplomacy is one kind of diplomacy that would definitely yield success with respect to India. So I do believe that Taiwan has to take two more steps than India is taking. And I do see, I'm very optimistic if that happens, the relationship is definitely going to define the trajectory of the Indo-Pacific region.
Absolutely. Very important points there, Sana. And I'm going to ask Ambassador Sajanhar about where he sees India and Taiwan in this chip diplomacy, as Sana put it. I mean, what is the roadmap for us, Ambassador Sajanhar, given the fact that there are sensitivities with Taiwan? We've been talking about the one China policy. Of course, we've not said that very openly in the last couple of years, given the, the post-Galwan scenario. But how do we handle the issue of Taiwan and the fact that we need the technology in Taiwan without, offending China, as it were?
Yeah, okay, two points here. You mentioned about the one China policy that we have
Yes.
not mentioned since Galwan. Actually, we have not mentioned the one China policy since 2010, if you remember.
Yes.
I think it was, I forget who was the prime minister who would come in 2010. And that was the time that, this reference to this had moved out.
Right.
And then after that, it has not been brought into any of our bilateral declarations or statements that have come out.
Right.
So I think that is definitely a messaging that has gone there, but
Yes.
a very valid and a very relevant messaging, because all the other countries seem to go there and parrot out this thing, about the one China policy. Now, coming on India and Taiwan, of course, we've been making statements in the past, and that we need, and even as far as Taiwan's southward policy is concerned, they have also been making this comments. But I think on the ground there has been little progress, and one of the reasons, of course, was in terms of the business environment that prevailed in India, whether
Yes.
it was in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of getting investment, resolution of disputes, and all those other things. And I think we've been making progress on that, whether it is the GST, whether it is
Yes.
the IBC, or, many of the other aspects. So, as Sana mentioned about, the good close rapport that exists with the Foxconn leadership as far as India is concerned.
Yes.
Also, the manufacturing of Apple from here, and that I think it took most people by surprise that the products that are coming out of India, high-tech products that are coming out of India, that they would be, that Indian labor force would be able to handle it so very well, so very effectively, and come out without much, as far as maintenance of quality is concerned, that could be retained. So I think that is the good message that is going out, and that is also brings greater confidence to those who want to invest here. Because earlier, you would remember, Sandeep, that there was always this thinking that any technology that comes here, the Indian the skill levels of our labor force, of our workforce,
Yes.
are not good enough, and so on. But I think that slowly, gradually, but surely, we are overcoming that. And also, I think the whole domestic environment is being worked towards such, in such a manner that we are focusing on it. There is much greater confidence amongst the outsiders and much greater interest back home in India, to have these collaborations. So I think relations with Taiwan are moving well, moving satisfactorily. But of course, they need to, particularly in the area of chips, where we have expressed a very serious interest.
Yes.
I think there is so much more that we can do together.
There's so much more that we can do together, in fact. And, Colonel Avasthi, the dragon in the room remains China. And, when the DeepSeek LLM was unveiled a couple of weeks back, there was a lot of speculation about where China had managed to get its chips from. Explain to us what the Chinese are doing to overcome the CHIPS Act and all of these other firewalls that the United States has put on high technology, preventing the Chinese from getting hold of this high-tech, the chips, the 2 and 4 nanometer chips.
Sandeep, let me, get you first to 1987 Deng Xiaoping, and this has been brought out by you earlier.
Yes.
He said that if Middle East has oil, China has rare earths.
Yes.
Unquote. So they have the wherewithal insofar as the material is concerned. Now, when they have the materials, they have the skill sets, they only possibly lacked in the equipment, which was to be manufacturing this critical technology in the world, including the, very state-of-the-art lithographic machines and all of that,
Yes.
which are made by ASML in the Netherlands. Now, they have perfected the art of the supply chain management. They have perfected the distribution part of it. But where they are now lacking is making cutting edge chips.
Right.
Uh, how they make it and when they make it is a question of debate and discourse. But they are spending a lot of money. I mean, you would have heard about the big tech fund. That is the tranche 3 is also now come in. But most of the fund is now going to be going for the legacy chips. When I say legacy chips, it is 28 nanometers and above. But these chips have a larger footprint. They have a larger footprint in terms of appliances, in terms of various small things. So volumetrically, they're very, very. While the cutting edge chips may be less in volume, which are being used all over the world, but these chips are going to be be used universally. So they
Right.
have understood that they have to catch all segments of the market, the smaller, the bigger, and the medium market. So by virtue of that, I think they are going ahead. Now, the second part of how they are tiding over the Chips and Science Act is, I think they are putting in a lot of impetus on skill development. As I keep reading and I keep hearing from a lot of people and interacting with a lot of people. The second part that they are doing is that they are very, very focused towards making more inroads into more and important markets.
Right.
They are those markets that we are looking at in Southeast Asia, Africa, various other places where you do not require cutting edge technologies like 2 nanometers and 4 nanometers in large proportions. So with a lot of other things, they are trying to circumvent this. Now, how far they are able to do this, I think the time will only tell. But I think they have got it right in a manner, and I think they have got wrong uh, in some part of the bigger jigsaw puzzle. So let's see how it turns out. Only time will tell.
Right.
But they are doing what is desired to be done to somehow circumvent the Science and Chips Act to their advantage.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Colonel Awasthi. And we are talking about Trump's chip gambit and the fact that India needs to step up its game if it has to remain relevant in this unfolding contest of geopolitics and geoeconomics. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sarjanhar, Sana Hashmi, and of course, Colonel Anurag Awasthi. What is India's semiconductor vision? Let's hear it from Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he spoke at the Semicon event last September.
इस दशक के अंत तक हम अपने इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेक्टर को $500 बिलियन तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं.
India's journey towards becoming a global semiconductor powerhouse took a bold step forward when Prime Minister Narendra Modi projected a $500 billion domestic electronics market by the year 2030. PM Modi, who was speaking at the inaugural Semicon India event, emphasized India's growing importance in the global semiconductor supply chain and its ambition to attract chip makers across the world.
When the chips are down, you can bet on India.
PM Modi highlighted India's comprehensive strategy, including training over 85,000 technicians, engineers, and researchers in semiconductor technology over the next decade. To support these efforts, the government is partnering with the Indian Institute of Technology, or IITs, and it has set up a semiconductor research facility at the Indian Institute of Space Science. A massive 1 trillion rupee fund has been earmarked for deep tech research, further strengthening India's semiconductor ecosystem. The government's efforts have been backed by concrete actions, as PM Modi revealed that the existing $150 billion electronics market is set to grow to $500 billion by the end of this decade. This optimism is fueled by a revamped incentives package worth up to $15 billion to encourage local sourcing of components and manufacturing. This builds on the $10 billion Production Linked Incentive, or PLI, program announced 3 years ago. To boost foreign investments, India has also fostered strong bilateral partnerships with the US, European Union, Japan, and Singapore. This includes a $500 million commitment from the US Department of Space to help develop India's chip ecosystem. Key industry players are already responding positively. Tata Electronics has committed $11 billion towards a chip fab in Gujarat, expected to create 50,000 jobs. US-based Micron Technology is set to open a $2.75 billion semiconductor plant in Gujarat again. Another notable development is Israel's Tower Semiconductor exploring a potential $10 billion joint venture with the Adani Group to establish a fabrication plant in Western India. Similarly, Japan's Renesas and US-based NXP Semiconductors are ramping up their investment in India's semiconductor design and production capabilities.
5 semiconductor units have been approved. Construction is rapidly under progress in the Micron unit, the Morigaon Tata unit construction has started, and the other 3 units construction will start very soon.
India has already approved 5 semiconductor projects and construction has begun on 2 of them, including a plant by US memory chip maker Micron. The next phase, dubbed Semicon 2.0, is expected to roll out within 3 to 4 months, promising to further bolster India's semiconductor industry.
हमारा लक्ष्य है कि इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का 100% काम भारत में ही हो.
India's focus is not just on chip fabs, but also on specialized materials and assembly facilities. The ultimate vision, according to Modi, is to see India-made chips in every electronic device worldwide. This ambitious goal, coupled with India's 3D power, a reformist government, a robust manufacturing base, and a tech-savvy market, positions the country to become a critical player in the global semiconductor landscape.
India's most recent labour statistics show that while 8 in 10 men are in the labour force, only 4 in 10 women are. Just 48% of eligible Indian women are in the Indian workforce. Compare this to other countries. 69% of Vietnam's women are in the workforce and 61% of China's women are in the workforce. Now, the government of India has set an ambitious target to achieve a GDP of $30 trillion by 2047. If that target has to be achieved, the female labour force participation rate has to be doubled to around 70% by 2047. Now, joining me to discuss this is my colleague Amit Ranjan, who's just done a story on this. Amit, welcome to the News9 Plus show.
Thank you, Sandeep.
What's the reason that we have so few women in the workforce, Amit?
What I'll go by the periodic labor force survey 2023-24. What that says is 56% of women don't take up formal employment due to child care or family responsibilities. It's as much as 56%. The next one is curious. 19% of women do not take up employment due to education. Now, it's not lack of education.
Right.
It's opting for higher education.
Yes.
So 19% don't. 16% due to health and age reasons. And where the government should be focusing on now and is 9% is due to lack of skill or focused training.
Right.
Which is the case. So these are the reasons. Also, retail is one place where there are a lot of women.
Yes.
But because of the security reasons which are more prevalent in north of India, retail peak hours are from evening 5 o'clock to night 10 o'clock.
Yes.
But women mostly go home by 7 o'clock or have to be sent home.
Right.
And that is it's changing because with infrastructure and law and order
Metros
getting better,
and yes,
it's changing.
of course.
But it's taking time. That's how it stands now.
Right, but you know, these statistics, have they been falling over a period of time, or is this drop very sharp? Is it very recent?
No. So from 1991
Yes.
to 2023, the female participation in India has gone up from 27 to around 33%.
Right.
The men participation has fallen from 78% to 76%. Better is, when we go by the world average,
Yeah.
in 1991, female participation was 50.7%. 2023-24, it was 48.7%. So
Right.
while everywhere else it's going down or plateauing,
Yes.
in India, that is it is
So
going
India is
up.
following the global norm, you're saying, but in countries like China and Vietnam, they employ more women in the workforce.
Yeah, they already did. So it's plateaued. It's not
Right.
going up. In India, it is rising, and more so, at least in the last decade or so.
But so tell us what China has done, for instance, or for Vietnam, which is a smaller economy.
these are opinions that people give based on statistics.
Right.
Vietnam and China, the law and order is much, much better than what it is
Right.
in India. So the R restrictions or
Yes.
the shift restrictions
Right.
are not there. So even if on factory shop floors where women are coming,
Yes.
but they are less. In Europe, it's very high.
Right.
Women do take up jobs where they are foremen or actual engineers working
Yes.
on the shop floor. In India, that has been changing because if you're on a night shift, there is very little chance that women will take up those kinds of jobs.
Right.
Especially if they are women who have children who are very small, they will
Yes.
not take up a night shift.
Of course.
So that is one thing that needs to change, and of course, law and order, as I said.
Law and order, is that the most important thing, Amit?
In quite a few industries, it is because
Right.
even in the industry we are, after 7 o'clock, we arrange a drop for
Yes.
women who are working after that.
Right.
It's not really necessary for men.
Right.
In some industries where the drop is not there, women are asked to not work after 7 o'clock.
Right.
I gave the example of retail, and we have a talking head from Reliance Retail on the
Yes.
program who has said that peak hours in retail is from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock.
Right.
So if women are not working after 7, the peak time, there are no women in the retail, and retail is a big recruiter
Yes.
of semi-skilled labor.
Right. So you're saying that the improving law and order and providing for the safety of women,
Yes.
that has a very big force multiplier impact on the economy,
Especially in India.
especially in India and especially in the metros. I would
Especially in
think,
the metros.
in Delhi and Mumbai.
And certain industries.
Right, absolutely. They're very interesting conclusions there. And let's watch Amit's story on countering jobless growth, which talks about all these points that he's just mentioned on why we need to protect women at the workplace and, of course, in our cities.